Hey guys, Coach Bricks here, back with our ACL movement problems that we have with all this stuff that's going on. I talked about all the ACLs. All right, so we have went over a bunch of different things. What causes what we think are movement patterns, why they're broken. Okay, what we can do about them. But here's one: is the female athlete. All right, why are they at a higher risk? Now, you ask a doctor, you ask three different doctors, they might give you three different answers. Okay, and nobody's going to be able to give you the definite answer because nobody's been able to study enough. But I think some of it has to do with hormones. I think some of that has to play into it. They talk about the Q angle right here with the hips. Their hips are a little bit wider, so when they come in, it causes that. But I think also what we're looking at is some strength issues. All right, so when I get a lot of my female athletes, and it's starting to happen a lot more with males, more so than I had with 20 years ago, but we're starting to see hamstring problems. So hamstrings are extremely weak because they're not being, in my honest opinion, aren't being isolated enough. Now, typically, I don't like to isolate just a muscle. Okay, I don't think that's the way to train it. But I think hamstrings are one of those muscles that I think you need to isolate. You really need to work on it. You really need to focus on it because it's just not happening. And I see that all the time when an athlete comes to me after an ACL tear. Their hamstrings are never being worked on by the therapist, and they're extremely weak. So it's telling me they were probably weak going into it, and now they're just even weaker. So we need to really focus on strengthening those hamstrings. I think it's really important that we do those things and look at that to make sure these athletes, especially these females, stay healthy. Because there's no reason they're 7, 8, 9 times higher risk of ACL injuries. We need to do a better job. We also need to work on what we talked about earlier, getting their inside ankle bone higher. All right, making sure that they can stay up. All right, and they really work on that strength and work on all those movement patterns. All right, they really need to be focused on all the time, and they really need to be focused on to make sure that they're doing it correctly, not just they're doing an exercise. I could do an exercise. All right, I could throw a ball, doesn't mean it's done correctly. I could shoot a basketball, doesn't mean it's done correctly. You need to make sure it's being done correctly to make sure we're mitigating any problem coming down the road. So make sure, you guys, when it comes to the female athlete, really focus on those hamstrings. I can't stress that enough. I think it's so important that we really work that, isolate them, those kind of movements, while we do all the rest of the movements. Like I said, it's whole body movements, but the hamstrings I like to isolate. And then also make sure, hey, you got to understand, they do have the wider hips. Also, the hormones could play a role, but I think we really need to focus on that movement and the hamstrings. I think we'll have better success with these female athletes. Guys, continue to follow us. Get ready for the next one we have, the next video coming out. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Let us know how we can help out.